that you guys would create an HTML form without formatting. Now, I told you guys yesterday that today we are going to start uh, uh, we are going to work on tables. Thereafter, we can introduce CSS. By CSS, what I mean is cascading styling sheet. So if time is on our side, we'll be able to do something in order to introduce the cascading styling sheet. Now, we want to work on tables. I would like to get a new page with Ctrl N so that what I'm going to teach is so that what I'm going to teach will be clearer when I'm explaining. So I call it table.html. So when I call it table.html, I can call the HTML skeleton by just typing HTML. So when I type HTML, I'll see HTML5 there. I'll hit it and the skeleton will pop up. Now, I told you guys that whatever you want to display on your page should be inside the body. But today, we are going to create from simple tables to complex tables. So for example, if we have a table, let me see if I can use my Microsoft Word. For example, if we have a table that has so simple tables. Okay, so let me just click on images. For example, we have a table here, and this table comprises of different headings. We have lesson, we have topic, we have assignments. Creating tables is not an easy job, so this is where you have to pay your attention. We have lesson, we have topic, we have assignment, we have points, we have uh, due. These are table heads, table headings. Hmm? Then this is serial number one. What is blah blah blah, wiki blah blah blah, 20 July 30. These are data that are inside the table. So while creating your table, for you to impute data, you use table data. This entire line is called a table row. This is a row, an entire row. This is an entire row. This is an entire row. And these are entire rows. And they have data on them. Good. That being said, I'll capture this and put it on the group so that you'll make reference to it later. So we have it in a group now. Now, what are we doing? We are going to start with a simple table. So I don't know if my Microsoft, okay, we have Microsoft Word up now. I know that every one of us is familiar with Microsoft Word. So like I just demonstrated to you, number of columns, 2 columns, number of rows, let me say 5. Like I demonstrated to you, we can have something like names of boys, names of girls, and we can have different names like Nkechi, Frank, Amanda, Joseph. We can have Blessing, Justice, and we can have Amaka, and we can have Johnson. Now, if you look at this table, you see that we have two headings. When dealing with headings, you use table heading. Now, this is an entire table. There is a skeleton for table heading. If you have a table which represents, I'm trying to break this down for you, so if you don't get it, you won't be able to get it. Table, there's a tag for table. So this is a table, which is the entire container here is a table. And the table has a heading, it has a head, and it has a body. So in HTML, you call the head section T head. And the other rows, you call it T body. Now, you have an entire row here, and the row has two data. The first one is Nkechi, and the second one is Frank. So, but before the row, let's work on the head. We have an entire row here that has two headings. So, we are going to work on that C arrow. C arrow will represent table role. So that is the role for the heading. And the role for the heading has two headings. TH represent headings. So it has two headings, which is, okay, let me turn on the light server so that you can see a practical demonstration. It has two headings, which is names of girls. And it has another heading, Z, control. It has another heading, names of, what is it? It has another heading, names of boys. So we can work with that. We have been able to create the heading for the rule for the headings. So I want to add a bit of styling so that there will be a kind of border on it. So if I want to style, I'll say style. So this is your introduction to CSS. When you want to write a CSS code, you just have to say style. This type I'm using now is called internal styling or embedded CSS. So I will mention the element, which is table. I want to reference table. I want to reference th, the heading. I want to refresh c head, and I want to refresh t arrow. Then I'll insert a curly brace. So I will just include what I want to, the properties that I want to apply to the table heading, the table head, and the table row. So I want to apply border, 1 pixel, solid, black. So, okay. So I think there's, so I can say border collapse, collapse so that it can be a single line. Good. I can also add a padding of 2 pixel. Padding means I want space to be inside those data. So those are not the important things right now. So what do we do? We have been able to create okay. I wrote boys here and I wrote girls here. So can just correct it now. So we have been able to create the first row, which is the head and the headings that are on it. So we are going to create the second row, and the data that are on it will also be included. So this is where you pay close attention. When you want to create the second row, which is not a heading, you go to the T body because that is the body of the table. Now, what do I do? The first row there on the body, I'll say T arrow. Now, T arrow represents table row. The row has two data, Nkechi and Frank. So I'll say TD Nkechi. So the second data will be Frank. Okay, so that's it. Now you can see that my borders are not being formatted properly. That's because I did not include table data in my element reference on the CSS. So we have been able to create the second row. So you can create the other rows easily. Hmm? It's an easy thing to do. So all you have to do is to change the names because they all have two datas on them. So you cannot change the names that are on those table data. For the second one, the first one is Amanda. Then we also have Joseph. So we have Blessing. on the third row. And we also have justice. So the last one, we have Amaka. And we also have Johnson for male. So since we only have 4 rows there, I will delete the other rows that I copied. Now we have it. So what do we do?
Yeah.
We have God,
Niko mkasa kusa.
so we have been able to create our first table. Now I'm going to make it a bit different. Let me see what time I have. 10:25. Okay, I've used 20 minutes. I still have 25 minutes also. So I'm going to work on this table. And this table is very simple. So when you look at this, if you are paying attention to what I was doing, this entire row is a T head, which is the head section of the table, and the rest part is the T body. The whole thing in total is the table element tag. So when I want to create this, I don't know how I can minimize my screen for me to create this, but I just have to. So when I want to create this, the first thing I'll do, I'll bring my table tag. After setting up my table tag, we have the T head, the head section of the table. As you can see there, we have only one row for the headings, and we have different headings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 TH. So I'm going to, the first one is lesson. The second one, I'm going to copy this into different places. Then I'll just edit them. 2, 3, 4, 5. So the second one is topic. The third one is assignment. The fourth one is points. The fifth one is due. So we have 5 headings on that row. So we are going to work on the body, T body. So for you to work on the body, the tag is T body. So what do we do? The first row, T arrow. Start working on the first row. It has a data, TD. So the first data is 1. So the second data, it has 5 data. So I just have to copy this into 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the second one is what is distance learning? What is distance learning? The third one is, let me expand it so I can see clearer. The third one is wiki #1. Wiki #1. The fourth one is 20. The first data there. Look at what I'm typing here. We downloaded this table just now, so I'm just trying to recreate it. The last one is July 3rd. So we have been able to create the first row. So we can copy this first row and paste it into how many places? Into 3 other places, which we'll be able to edit. So, which we'll be able to edit. I'm trying to move this thing upward so that I can see what's in there. I don't know. Okay. So which we'll be able to edit. So now I've copied it. I just have to paste that row into 3 different places. So we have it now. So what do I do? After pasting it, I can just come and edit this one to be number 2. What is written there? The second data is history and theories. History and theories. So the third data is brief paper. Okay, brief paper. So I typed it in the wrong place. So let me take it up. So the fourth data is 20. And the fifth data is July 10. So work on the third one, number 3. And the second data is distance learners. The third table data is discussion, no? Discussion #1. Then we have 10 as the fourth data and July 17. So for the last one, which is number 4, we have media selection. We have blog #1. We have 10 as the first data, and July 24th. So we have been able to construct a table with HTML. And this is the table that we just downloaded from the internet. Now, I want to show you one other thing. If you use Microsoft Word before now, there is something that is called merging. You can unite this entire column and make it a single column. So that is not what we are teaching here. So, but for you to merge items, on HTML, what you need is what we call cold span. Cold span means column span. So how do we do it? We are going to go back and I will demonstrate how we'll be able to achieve this using cold span. Then when you want to merge rows, you use what we call row span. So here is our VS Code. Now, I'm going to create another table. For me to create a table, the first thing is to bring out the table tag. So when I bring out the table tag, I can just mention the head section and the body section. So the head section, we have only one row. As you can see, this is just one row for the heading. So the row has just one data, one heading, but the heading spans across two columns. So that's cospan 2. So names of students. Running out of time. Okay. So now we have names of students. Our body will remain the same, which means I can decide to go back and copy the content of these bodies, the 4 rows that we have here, Amaka, Johnson, blah, 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 and paste it right here so that our table will be completed. As you can see, we now have 2 columns being merged. That is what we call column span, co-span. Then when you want to merge rows, you use what we call row span. So I'm going to give you that as an assignment for you to go and look for a table where 2 rows were merged, and make sure you recreate the table using HTML. So I want to take your questions now. You can turn on your microphone. Turn on your microphone. I want to take your questions now. If you don't have any question to ask, it means you understand everything that I taught.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
There is one place that you brought something that is it the style, the embedding style. So I don't know.
So I told you guys that we have inline CSS, we have inline styling, we have
Okay,
internal styling, and we have external styling. So this is the style. You can see that there is a tag here that is called styled. Now, by mentioning the name style, it means how do you want it to look like. Now, this is how, if we don't have this here, if I remove this, you see that there will be no lines on my tables. Can you see that? Can you
okay.
see my live server?
Yes, yes.
Good. So that is the work of styling. You add colors and structures to your website with the style. Now, when you look at my style, you see that I mentioned table, I mentioned table heading, I mentioned table head, I mentioned table row, and I also mentioned table data. I'm trying to say that everything in this page that has to do with table head, table data, table heading, table head, and table row should have a border that is 1 pixel solid. So if I increase this to 5 pixel, my border will be thicker.
Okay.
So 1 pixel solid, it means I need a light border. I said solid black. You can decide to say solid red. Your border will be red in color or pink, whatsoever color you want. So that is what I did there. Then when I said collapse, it means I want a single border line. If I remove this collapse, it will become double lines. But when I add that collapse, you see that the borders will be single line. Then this padding, 2 pixel, it means I need space around everything, within everything here, around the text. But looks like the padding didn't work properly. I don't really know because I didn't bother to check it. But let me remove it. Okay, the padding works. Maybe the padding was too small. Let me say 10 pixel. So when I said padding 10 pixel, you can see the big space that was added to the
Okay.
table around the text. Can you see the effect?
Yes.
So the purpose of CSS is to style your documents. Okay? I hope I
Yes,
answered
sir.
your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good. So if there is another question, let me take it now, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This CSS, the way you style it inside the HTML, can this be applied in something else or just any table?
If it can be applied to what?
So maybe if I'm creating something else, maybe some another web page, can I use it this way or just when I'm creating table?
If you are creating any web page, you can open this
Yes,
file and copy this styling and add it to your table now if that is what you need.
yes. Okay.
Then I told you guys that we have inline CSS, we have internal CSS, and we have external CSS. External CSS is more like, for example, let me even demonstrate. I can decide to cut this out and create a new page and paste it here. Then I will save this with new style dot css. So all I will do, if I want my document to possess any document at all to possess the properties inside that CSS, all I will do, I will just have to mention that CSS with link. So when I type link, you can see that there are a series of links here. There's one called CSS. So I can just say, I can just mention the name of the CSS. So when I mentioned the name of the CSS, it didn't work. So what do? I'm going to look into my document. Okay, if you look at it, I added style here. So when you want to use external CSS, you don't need the style tag because the entire document is already known as a CSS document. So if I save this now, you see that my tables have been displayed here. Now, just as I have been able to use this external file for this particular document, you can also use this file anywhere in your computer. You can copy it and add it to your website, or you can just mention the directory. For example, I can decide to copy this new style and put it on my desktop. If I copy this new style, if I remove it from that location, now I hope you are paying attention. If I
Yes.
copy it, if I cut it, and I go to my desktop and I keep it on my desktop, so my address would change. So because I have already removed it from that location. Now, when you look at this place, where is my VS Code? You see that even if I mentioned it here, it's not working because the address is no more correct. That's because we have changed the location of the file. So what can we do? We can decide to go back a little. So when you say dot slash. This is more advanced, so you ask an advanced question. So when you say dot slash, it means you are telling the computer to look backward once. So when I say dot slash, you see that new style has popped up. That is because I know that the file is just one folder behind. So there are other ways that I can use to also reference this CSS. Now, when you look at this,